shall we start?
Yeah.
I don't know how much time we got, but um, it's something I. It's let's just talk about what I want to talk about first, I guess.
Okay. Why don't you tell people who you are?
Oh, I'm Sean Molle. I wrestled for the Canadian national team for like 7 years.
Okay.
I'm falling in love with jiu-jitsu. Like I'm
Good to
having a
hear.
big passion. I think that's a little bit owed to you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
think the whole people at AMP too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's great to have a great experience, and it's kind of more of like a family slash community, which
Okay.
I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad, like I'm having you as someone to look up to.
Oh. Oh, I'm so short. Sean.
Yeah, I know you're so short, but
How's that gonna work?
no, but like I think it's just like your ideas and your technique and
Oh.
just even your overall mantra.
Thanks, man.
Um,
Appreciate that.
yeah, so I think it was. I love talking to you about jiu-jitsu, and
We like talking.
I know, and but also I respect you as like someone I look up to.
Oh, thanks, man.
So I think that coming from me, that probably like I don't give out compliments that often, and I think
High praise.
I know. Sorry, like but it's true though. Like my girlfriend always makes fun of me, and it's like, oh, if Johnny says you'll do it, but if I say it, I won't do it.
That's
So
just a universal thing, though. Like,
oh, you don't listen to your girlfriend, kind of, or
it's
you
like
don't.
how kids don't listen to their parents.
Yeah, okay. So
Your
I don't.
parents told you to do something, you wouldn't do it. But if
Yeah,
your friend told you to do it. then
Yeah,
you
if
do
Johnny told me to do it, I'll probably do it. I don't know. But maybe the biggest probably flaw is like I just don't listen to my parents.
That's pretty universal. But no, you've been a great asset to the club, and I think it's great that we can do this and find the time because we've talked about it for a little bit.
Yeah, well, even putting the podcast together, we talked about that for a couple
Yeah.
times, and we even talked about putting a seminar,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do
Now we're
it.
doing both.
Yeah,
Right?
like
Yeah.
October 6th, and it'll be very exciting to. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think we have probably like 10 people signed up for it right now.
Is this the first seminar you've taught?
Like I've taught like mini seminars back in Victoria.
Okay.
Like I would just take over practice and I would
Yeah.
just teach some single legs, but I didn't know as much as I do now.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's some things that I'm really like feel like would be beneficial, more beneficial when I taught back in
Yeah.
Victoria. Like I was teaching double legs and single legs, like very wrestling like practice, and they were very blue collar.
Right.
They really enjoyed the blue collarness.
Yeah.
Like the certain crowd that
Yeah.
I was in, it was a very fight. It wasn't very 10th planet. Like 10th planet's like let's kind of like no one was doing leg locks. Everyone was doing like it was a wrestling practice, but it was just with more submission based wrestling. Like it did not feel like a jiu-jitsu practice. It was
Yeah.
more wrestling with some submissions,
Okay.
which was a great fit for me for the time. But now I'm kind of going more of the technique base
Yeah.
instead of just this wrestler.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I think you could attest to it, that I've been focusing more on maybe the more jiu-jitsu side
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think. How long have you been at our club now?
This is my
don't know.
third year, but the first year was on probation, and I don't think I really showed up my first year. So probably 2 years now.
2 years. Yeah. No, I think I think you've changed a lot. The one of the things about jiu-jitsu and any grappling sport is like you're always kind of getting better.
Yeah,
But I think it's also not only getting better, but you're becoming different
Yeah.
and better.
yeah,
So I'm certain that if you had continued on the original trajectory, I guess you could call it,
Yeah.
that you're on, you would be better at doing what you did. But I think now that you're doing different things,
Yeah.
it will eventually lead you to become better at jiu-jitsu.
Agreed.
Overall.
I think I'll be like right now. I'm a wrestler that does jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
but pretty soon it'll be like a wrestler jiu-jitsu.
I
Or-
think like if you, I would say you should look at yourself as someone who's starting to do jiu-jitsu
Yeah,
who wrestles.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a wrestler.
yeah,
And I think that's a mindset thing. Like I'm a wrestler and I'm learning jiu-jitsu, whereas like if you're just like I'm just some guy who wants to start training,
yeah.
but I also wrestled for like how long did you wrestle?
I think probably about 13 years.
13
Yeah, like it's give or take. Like
Let's
grade 9 is when I started.
okay.
There's obviously some years of concussions, knee surgeries, I don't know, wrestling's hard.
Well, can we do a recap of like your wrestling? Wrestling is very hard.
Oh yeah,
So when did you start wrestling?
I started wrestling in grade 9 at my high school.
Okay. Is that a normal? Time
Actually,
to
sorry,
start?
that is a lie.
Okay.
My dad, okay, this is a big story. Is my dad is an Olympic silver medalist.
Right.
There was wrestling in, he won the 1984 games.
Okay.
So there is a big aspect of me going to wrestling practice when I was 5 or 6.
Okay.
I remember practices were always at 10 o'clock
Night?
and in the morning on
Okay.
Saturdays.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where my favorite cartoons were playing. So I told my dad that I didn't want to wrestle anymore.
Because
So I
it's
wanted to
Saturday
watch.
morning.
Yeah,
That's actually very tragic, and I understand the feeling.
missing Saturday
Oh
night
yeah,
cartoons.
I had to go to Chinese school, which is
Yeah.
much less cool than wrestling,
Yeah,
and it didn't pan out. So
Yeah.
at least you can wrestle
Yeah.
very well. I still can't read or write Chinese well
Yeah,
at
yeah.
all. But we both miss cartoons, so that's
So I chose the route of cartoons. I think I wanted to watch SpongeBob SquarePants, and the new episode was always at 10 o'clock. So I was like, no more. So finally picked it up. Like I learned a few things. I went to like some summer camps. I remember one time. This is a funny story. I had to lie about my age because you have to be 6, and I was 5.
right.
So
Is that like how early is early for wrestling? Like do they say
5.
5?
So Maxi probably is the definite age of where you could start. I don't know if I recommend it.
Right.
The burnout is huge if you
Right.
push it too hard.
Right.
The time will come, and probably junior high school is probably, in my opinion, if I don't know. I guess that's a case by case basis.
So let's say you kind of dabbled in it a bit because it's the pedigree from your dad.
Yes.
It's in your family.
Yes.
And then, but you didn't really take it up till grade 9, like in high school.
Yes.
Okay.
So I picked it up back then. Like I don't know why. It just
Was
like
it popular in high school?
no, it was very like probably 5 people.
And where was this?
I went to my private school,
Oh, okay.
and they had some
I mean,
mats.
most public schools here don't have wrestling.
They don't, and it's actually a dying sport, which makes me believe that jiu-jitsu will take over wrestling in the
Do you
future.
think it'd be a takeover, or would it be like a?
If the person has the choice over putting their kid in wrestling or jiu-jitsu, I feel like more people will put their kid through jiu-jitsu.
Do you feel like in your experience, because I've obviously never wrestled in my life, but is wrestling more organized than jiu-jitsu is? I ask that because I know jiu-jitsu is extremely disorganized
Okay.
in terms of like.
So I would actually disagree with that. The tournaments that we went to Seattle,
Yeah.
Pilliot, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Regardless, way more organized. The smooth comp, that's probably a little bit of evolution of technology. Like
Yeah,
smooth
yeah,
comp is a
smooth
way
comp
better
is-
technology than whatever we had in wrestling.
Yeah.
We used track wrestling, not like it felt like it burnt out. Half the time they just print a piece of paper and like someone's mom is like doing all the brackets for the household tournament. So
Yeah.
the smooth comp, and
Yeah.
it kind of gives you a rough estimate.
What about like training though? Like when you showed up in grade 9
Yeah.
for your first wrestling practice.
Yeah.
Is it called practice?
Yeah.
It's called practice. Versus like when you show up for your first jiu-jitsu class.
Yes. Like there's actually wrestling seasons. I feel like jiu-jitsu does not have a season. Wrestling
No.
season is probably starts probably after football, so November, and it probably goes till March. It depends
So more
on
of like a fall winter when
Yeah.
it's not nice outside.
Correct.
Then you're inside hugging dudes.
yeah.
Makes sense.
So it's a winter sport.
Oh, okay.
Although it's in the summer games, it's a winter sport in high school. Like it's only on for so long.
Right.
So they do have seasons. I feel like jiu-jitsu does not have seasons. You
You-
train
Year round.
all year round.
I mean, some people will. I mean, when it's hot, I'll take off the gi.
Yeah, yeah.
Like temperature based. But no, there's no season. People kind of. In the summertime, you notice a dip of people not training as much, even at our club. Just
Yeah, yeah.
because it's nice outside, right?
Yeah.
Which is understandable. But no, people train year round.
Yeah. Probably one of the biggest things is like if you wanted to go wrestling,
Yeah.
like do you know where a wrestling club is? And
No, not at all. I have no idea. Like, if I wanted as an adult at 39 years old to start wrestling, of all like the grappling disciplines between like judo jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I think wrestling is actually the most inaccessible for
Correct.
the average bear.
Agreed.
Because judo, you could go like I could go down to Stevenson
Yeah.
Judo Club, or like there's lots of judo clubs. There's private clubs. Jiu-jitsu, there's like tons of clubs now that you can train at.
How many clubs do you think there are in the city of Richmond?
I'd say there's at least a dozen. I think, maybe more. Um, but there's a good number of them. Or
Yeah.
if they're not a club, they're like a fitness facility that offers
Yeah.
some kind of jiu-jitsu. So that it's like very. I think it's good in terms of being able to train,
Yeah.
because I'm big on cross training,
Yeah.
which I think is another thing that wrestling is not big on.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like I probably wrestled at SFU. There was a little bit of cross training. Like I did it towards my end of my years. Like I got to train with Minnesota with Gable Stevenson,
Yeah.
the Olympic gold medalist at 2022, I believe. Right? 2 years ago.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's generally not.
Yeah. Usually not. Usually you try to keep in your little bubble and try to get better.
I mean,
So
I don't think I should say that I enjoyed cross training.
Yeah.
Cross trained a bunch, but there is like some older school of jiu-jitsu that also is like that. Like they don't like.
yeah, I've heard of that. Some people just like don't want to train with other schools because is it like we want to just get better ourselves and don't want to tell our secrets?
I guess so. I don't know. I think. I suspect. I don't know because I don't run.
An exclusive club.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm not doing it for money, but
Yeah.
I'm assuming that there is some thoughts where, like, if this student's paying me money and then go train somewhere else, he's paying his money elsewhere, spending his time elsewhere. I'm sure there is some like financial incentives. for that.
Yeah.
Like it's not completely. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's good to have lots of options,
Yeah,
but I think it's a hard business to make money in.
for sure.
I think, and we talked about this before, to why it is like that way.
I just came back from Brazil doing some cross training,
But right,
and it was eye opening. Like
Yeah.
we talked about the Gracie Baja and an Alliance just
Yeah.
before this, and they're just a little bit more old school.
yeah,
Which is completely different from what I'm used to at AMP and even at Skoll is like we don't have
and
bell.
you trained in Victoria as well, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I got to train. I often train at. Sorry, I'm blanking on it, but I guess Dave's gym and it would be Hoodrich.
Right.
That'd be Hoodrich Jiu-Jitsu.
Both two places. And you did you go by Van Isle with
Oh, I went for one,
Village?
maybe two practices there.
Yeah,
JM or
Yeah, JM and Matt. Yeah,
Yes.
really nice guys.
oh, awesome! They probably have like one of the best mats in the Lower Mainland.
Yeah,
Or sorry,
I've
not
seen
Lower Mainland.
pictures, really nice.
I think they had like some sort of rich person sponsor some good mats, and he just loves the sport and just like, hey, let's make like a super awesome jiu-jitsu tournament. Jiu-jitsu environment and facility. Like I think they have a sauna and like plants and like it just looks very pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll have to check it out sometime.
Yeah, I need to go over there too.
You used to compete against him, right?
Yeah, he's beat me up 2 times, that darn guy.
Yeah.
He's very good.
Yeah, I know.
Both of them are very good. I think they're more. They're full time. Like that's it.
Yeah. Yes, I think they are.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed when I was in Brazil is like I rolled with probably about 4 black belts, maybe 5
Yeah.
black belts. I think it was ex coach. That's the gym that I trained.
Yeah.
I trained exclusively no gi. I didn't want to
Yeah.
do gi.
Sure.
Last time I did gi, I hurt myself, so I'm just kind of getting cold feet on it.
Don't blame the gi.
Oh, blame what, me?
Yeah, blame your inability to handle these.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyways, I haven't been putting on the gi for a long time. Yeah.
Noticed, Sean.
I know. I'm sorry. Why? What I notice is like, why is wrestling bad in the sport of jiu-jitsu?
Not bad. Like
It seems, I don't think it's the level that it could be.
like wrestling.
Yeah.
It's more prominent now in nogi especially. Like, and I mean, what do you classify as like wrestling? Like what is it, like the ability to stand
I think
up, or is it like scrambles on the ground, or
I feel like it's a little bit. If we had Gable, Taha, or any of these level like D1 wrestlers,
yeah,
they'd probably dominate the stand-up game.
yeah,
And people are just resorting to pulling guard. It was actually like I was talking to Yanni, and a lot of the Brazilians at CGI
yeah,
just didn't know how to wrestle.
yeah,
I went and wrestled with a few Brazilians, and it's like they didn't know how to do a stance, and they were like gassing themselves out
yeah.
on the stand-up.
Sure.
Like I think, I don't know, is it just like a time thing, or do you think it's bad for business to teach wrestling?
I think wrestling is hard,
Agreed.
and I think jiu-jitsu is easier and more fun. I mean, I'm sure wrestling's fun too,
Yeah.
but I think that it's just very hard, and like I think the carryover, it seems to be more people from wrestling are going into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Maybe the carryover, it goes better that way
Yeah.
versus the other way.
Yeah.
It's like how I guess in the past a lot of like people that found a lot of success in, well, not even in the past, even now, like guys like that are really good in the gi
Yeah.
can make that jump over to no gi,
Yeah.
like fairly successfully, and
Yeah.
do kind of both.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too. I mean, even I don't know if like Gordon Ryan started in the gi, but I think he did train.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he has experience in the gi. Like he does. I don't think he's like pure, like never put a gi on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if anybody who's very successful in the no gi world has never done it or never studied it or like at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just that. It's just like the carryover works better one way than the other. Because
Yeah.
if you took somebody, there are people now that have only done no-gi.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a lot of no-gi clubs, like schools.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think 10th Planet.
Yeah.
That is the whole thing, right?
Yeah. There's more and more clubs now that are just no-gi. Whereas I guess the old style was like they're just clubs that they do both.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any clubs that do just gi anymore here.
Yeah. It seemed like Gracie, like an Alliance, it was very gi heavy.
Yeah. I think they still do no-gi though.
It was like one practice a week
Yeah.
from the schedule that I saw in Brazil. It was like Friday on.
It could just be a preference thing. Like maybe it's like more culturally like.
I think so. I think there is a little bit of cultural presence.
There's another like Lucha Libre or something like there's other like that was like their no-gi thing down there. I think I could be wrong, but I thought in Brazil they also do like.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up is, what do you think is a good stance for jiu-jitsu?
Depends on if it's gi or no-gi. No-gi, I'm not too sure. Gi, it's like, oh gosh.
Should it be very similar to judo?
Yeah. The thing is, like, the rules are different, right?
Yeah.
So when the rules are,
100% agree.
We talked about this before, where like the rule sets, we're all humans. It's
Yeah.
all bodies. It's all the same movements, right? The mechanics don't differ that much, but based on the rules of what you can do, what you can't do, and how you score and stuff, things are different.
Yeah.
So, like a good example is like when you mentioned before you taught blue collar wrestling, singles, doubles, and stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Great in wrestling.
Yes,
right?
agreed.
Because of the rule set.
Correct. Because
But-
you want 4 points to get them
Yeah.
feet to back.
But
Yeah.
in I'm sure, I would suspect, I'm not sure, I would suspect that a lot of people who come from a wrestling background and they start grappling and jiu-jitsu and they shoot these things, probably there's a good chance that they'll get caught in like a guillotine or something,
That sounds like me.
right?
I
But-
got caught. I was just shooting high crotches, get guillotined, and like everyone's right. Like I was shooting a left side high crotch,
Yeah.
and it would be right to their right strong arm, and it would be like it was almost like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, yeah, but my point being like, so the rule set makes it. It's not that those techniques are not good, but they're not good for the rule set. So I think
Correct.
like the
Yeah.
stance, like going back to the stance, like because if you take a wrestling stance
Yeah.
for nogi jiu-jitsu, I mean, I guess the stance doesn't matter that much versus like what techniques you choose, but I think it change like the rules change everything,
Yeah.
right? Like in judo, like you can't grab the pants anymore, I think, or something like that.
Yes.
Or
Probably
you can't grab the legs anyway, but that will affect the way that your stance will be. So if you took a judo stance where you're expecting people to not grab your legs, like that was the thing in the past too, where like wrestlers would go into judo
Yes.
and do really really well. They just out wrestle them
Yeah.
because they could. The ippon just it's very similar. They just pin you on your back, right?
Yeah.
And then they changed the rules not to allow that. Maybe because the wrestlers were doing
I think that exactly because people are wanting medals. And
Is that?
yeah.
Do you think that's like a consistent thing where wrestlers will just go into other sports and just wrestle instead of?
Well, yeah, I feel like that's what I'm doing for jiu-jitsu. Like at least the last 2 years, I was just going into tournaments and just wrestled to see what happens. But
Right.
I feel like I actually know a few submissions now.
Sure, I think like you can. I think there's a difference between like winning the game
Yeah.
and playing the game.
Yeah.
So, if you play the way the game's meant to be played,
Yeah.
maybe that's why circling back to your original question, like if you think wrestling's bad, I
Yeah.
don't think it's bad, and you can win
Yeah.
the rule set, but I think maybe it's not how most people want to play the
Yeah.
game. They want to play guard and do all this stuff.
Yeah. I noticed in the heavyweight it was very weak wrestling.
Yeah.
The lightweights was exciting, by far.
Hmm.
The lightweight matches were like, well, they also had some killers in there. Like, who was the first wrestler that I'm thinking of? It was probably the first match. They had a D1 wrestler, Jason Knoll.
No, yeah.
Oh man, like they were starting doing cartwheels and stuff. Like, didn't he have a rough? He had the number one seed.
I can't remember.
Was it Ty? He had Ty
Maybe.
probably.
Tyre, I don't know if Tyre Cade was the number one seed.
I think Cade was number 2.
Is he?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. But is that just like a thing with like heavyweights?
Heavyweights.
Like in general, like heavyweight wrestlers.
Even then, like the drop off between heavyweights wrestlers and good ones.
Yeah.
Like you could probably go to the Olympics by just being big and being born in the right place. Like the heavyweights, definitely the talent level definitely goes down. Like people would probably just get there because they're big. Which was probably the reason for CGI is like they actually had some difficulty getting all the heavyweights to go to, like they were missing a few people.
Yeah.
And they end up getting a D1 wrestler from, what was his name? Oh man, who's a freaking brute? Greg Kirkville. I think he was Penn State. Penn State, was he? Yeah, I think he's Penn State.
Was it in the heavyweights?
Yeah.
Like the over 80?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
Daniel Greg Kirkville.
Oh, yeah.
He's a white belt,
Yeah.
but he was a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And he didn't get submitted.
Yeah.
So he had a great base, but he just didn't know what he was doing. But when it came to some of the Brazilians, I just like take dumb shots.
Yeah.
Like you're fighting for $1 million.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I could see potentially wrestling changing jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
at that level.
I think so.
There's
I
a
think,
lot of room to
I
improve.
think there's a lot of wrestling that's coming into the sport, and I think it's for the benefit. It's helping like it evolve.
Yes, I foresee it will not be the same sport in 10 years. We're gonna have these like people that are kids
Yeah.
that have been wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
intertwined.
Kind of like what MMA was.
Yes.
You know, like back in the day when MMA first started, it was like you'd come in with a discipline and see who's best. Like, oh, there's like Muay Thai guys, karate
Yeah.
guys, jiu-jitsu guys,
Yeah.
and then then it was like guys who were like train jiu-jitsu and this. But now there's guys coming in. Like, I think George St. Pierre was one of the first generations of he's like an MMA
Yes.
practitioner. So I think like maybe like you're saying with the modern no-gi,
Yes.
like way it's going, it's going to be a blend of these guys that wrestlers learning jiu-jitsu or jiu-jitsu guys learning to wrestle.
Yeah.
It's just going to be guys who start off with like what the meta is now. Like you
Yes.
got to kind of do a bit of both.
Yeah, like if you can't just put your kid in jiu-jitsu and see him to be successful.
There
I think
was one dude when I was watching one of the seasons of Daisy Fresh. I
Yeah.
think there was a guy who trained at like with the Daisy Fresh crew, and he like I don't think he did anything, and then he started training there.
yeah,
And I think he ended up getting like a scholarship or something to somewhere, the college to wrestle.
yeah,
Because, like, I guess they taught him. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he's like one of those first gen. So like maybe from that like kind of hybrid style, then you can do okay in wrestling.
yes,
Or jiu-jitsu, which is what he was doing. So that's the first case I've heard of like. I can't remember who that guy was. It was like one of the younger guys. But yeah, they were talking about how it's pretty cool. Like oh, this guy started a laundromat training
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, and then now he has like this full ride. Maybe not, but like some kind of scholarship
Yeah.
to get an education
Wow.
in wrestling, despite not having wrestled.
yeah.
Right?
It's probably a huge base. Why is wrestling so effective in jiu-jitsu?
It's pinning, it's control, right? Like the rides and stuff.
Yeah. So the collegiate style is probably the best. Like I don't think freestyle has as much carryover.
What are the different types of wrestling?
There's Greco,
Okay.
which is upper body only.
Yeah.
Not. It's completely different. The judo has a little bit. You got the gi
Yeah.
with the judo.
Yeah.
So the moves of Greco are a little bit more underhook, overhook. They're not doing kick through throws.
Yeah.
Like not as much. They're usually trying to do suplexes. Like they're trying to just catch you, hug you, and try to throw you over your back. I've been thrown a few times, and it hurts. I can. Yeah, some of those Greco people. The one from Cuba, like I wouldn't want to mess with him. Like
So there's Greco, Roman.
There's collegiate,
Okay.
which is the American style. It's probably the most practiced in the States, and there's probably a fan base of maybe 200,000 people doing collegiate wrestling. It's also called folk
So
style.
collegiate and folk are the same thing.
Yes,
Okay. And that's the most popular one in the States?
yes.
Okay.
And then there's freestyle.
Okay. What do we do up here?
We, SFU, we compete at the NCAA Div 2.
So that's collegiate?
That's collegiate. But it's the only Canadian school that competes in the NCAA. So I got to have some experience,
Yeah.
probably about 5 or 6 years of practicing collegiate wrestling, which is a different style. Have you wrestled with any other wrestlers?
Not too many. I think, but I have heard that folk style, or I guess collegiate, is the most transferable one.
Yes, the leg rides and the
Yeah.
power rides
Yeah.
and just maintaining the back control
Yeah.
has done wonders for me
Right.
for like being very sticky
And that's
behind
all
the back.
collegiate?
That is all collegiate.
What is freestyle?
Freestyle is the Olympic sport.
Okay. So the Olympic is not collegiate.
Correct.
Huh.
So it's almost, I feel like it's a detriment to the United States that they teach all their athletes folk style.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they're done their folk style career,
They have to go and try for the Olympics.
Olympics, and they have to learn a whole new rule set and a whole different turn. The collegiate style is definitely way better for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Being able to, you can ride people out, so like you get riding time,
Yeah.
and you try to turn people
Yeah.
based off the ride, and you have to base off control.
Yeah.
Like you can't just get the takedown, and you have to secure the takedown,
Yeah.
just like in jiu-jitsu. Like in freestyle, I could just get the 4 points, and you touch your back for a moment, and I
Yeah.
get the 4 points.
Yeah.
So there is a big difference of the folk style and freestyle.
Yeah.
Some are able to make the change
Yeah.
and make the bracket, like usually all the D1 wrestlers that win the big NCAA tournament, most will probably make them a good team. Obviously, there's some standouts that are just like David Taylor, Jordan Burroughs, Kyle Day, Kyle Snyder, that are probably just going to be dominating until they retire.
Yeah.
And then someone else will come up and try to. So they're so deep. They're probably like, if the Canadian national team tried to win the American Nationals, I don't think we'd probably place top 20 maybe if we sent our
So
number ones.
in Canada, like at SFU and stuff, they train collegiate.
Correct.
So they go down and they compete in the States for collegiate.
Yes.
So all these guys, like the Americans, do very well in the Olympics, obviously.
Yes, they do.
So they train their whole careers almost like collegiate, and then they go and they win freestyle.
Yes.
Against other countries that have been training freestyle the whole time.
Yes.
Huh. Do you think it's because like they're used to the grind of trying to flip people and controlling and solidifying those pins? Where that when the freestyle, would you say like freestyle rules are easier to score?
Like, I think it's all about context. It is easier to score in freestyle
Yeah.
because the points just seem to go on the board a lot quicker.
Yeah.
There's a lot more stalling in collegiate, and you could keep someone on the ground and keep them there for the rest of the match. Which,
a lot of stalling jiu-jitsu.
yeah, but I could just have my back take. I get a back take on you in jiu-jitsu. I don't have to work for this mission. I can just wait for the next 7 minutes and stall you out. In wrestling, you'll get stand back up.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest indicators of why I think why wrestling in jiu-jitsu is so bad. It's because you don't spend enough time standing up.
Yeah, because it's tiring.
Well, not
it's-
that.
it's,
It's just like, if I take you down,
Yeah,
I'm probably keeping you in side control or back control for the rest of the match.
sure.
That's assuming if both parties stand up.
Yeah,
If I stand up and you sit pull guard,
Yeah.
well, then there goes the chance of me earning that
Yeah.
experience of taking people down.
Mm-hmm.
In freestyle wrestling, if 30 seconds, you stand back up.
Oh, huh.
If you miss,
Interesting.
so if I take a bad shot
Yeah,
and you score 2 points, hey, if you don't turn me,
yeah.
stand back up.
Hmm.
If so, there's probably like a little bit of just time experience. Like I don't know how many hours of wrestling I have under my belt.
Well, I guess like the more you do it, the better you are. So if you're standing up all the time,
Yeah.
you're gonna get good at it,
Correct.
right? And if you're not standing up all the time, you're not gonna get good at it.
Yeah.
And
So
I think in the rule set of jiu-jitsu, like you don't need to.
correct.
So there's no like I think the value that I see from wrestling in jiu-jitsu right now is like your ability to stand back up.
Yes.
To force that.
Okay.
Where people don't want to go. But, I can stand up and it's like I can stand up and you waste a lot of energy trying to keep me down.
Yeah.
But like my wrestling, like it's like when you say like your wrestling sucks, it's like I think there's components to wrestling. There's obviously your ability to
Yes.
take people down. There's your ability to not get pinned,
Yeah.
and then there's your ability to take other people down.
Yeah.
I'd say like if we say those things like rudimentally what wrestling is,
Yeah.
I would say I'm horrible at taking people down.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at not being taken down, but I'm okay at getting stood up, like
Yeah.
standing up myself,
Yeah.
and I'm okay at not getting pinned. Like I'm difficult to pin.
Yeah.
So, like, 2 out of 5.
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah.
so I think there's there's like elements of jujitsu. There's wrestling and jujitsu that they're good at. I think
Yeah.
it's just like what to do when you're standing, and like to get to standing right
Yeah.
now is not the best, maybe.
Yeah. Like I assume Maxi will do jujitsu,
Yeah, if he wants to.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is pretty.
but it'll be very exciting in like 10 years of what the sport looks like.
Yeah, well, he'll like if he wanted to do MMA, it wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, oh, we're gonna put you in a boxing class and we'll put you in jiu-jitsu and wrestling. I mean, you could still,
Yeah.
or you just be like, you just go to an MMA coach because they'll teach you straight up,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know. It's very exciting for me to see what the future of jiu-jitsu, and I think the combination of collegiate wrestling, like the folk style wrestling, we'll probably see a lot of good carryover. I think we saw Michael Pixley
Yeah, basically.
beat. It was actually not due to a darce. It was
I
due
think he hurt
to
his shoulder or something.
yeah, he braced out on one of the kick through throws.
Yeah.
But he's a purple belt like wrestler.
Hmm.
D1, I think. I don't know what school he wrestled out of.
I think he's like, yeah, he's a good wrestler for sure. Like,
He was also judo. Like he was doing kick through throws all the way through.
yeah. I mean, I think he came in with like a strong wrestling background, and then he just adapted what he was good at and learned. He seemed to like learn quickly. Yeah, he seems really good. That's cool.
I guess also Nicky Rod, he wrestled at a D3 school.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit like wrestling has a place in jiu-jitsu. You can
Oh,
also just pull guard. Like you can
I
just
think so. Like they're all like any grappling sport is like you have like it's probably one of the best carryovers.
yeah.
Like if you like our friend Ben at the club, he's got a black belt in
Yeah.
judo, and
Yeah.
when he started training jiu-jitsu, it like came to him very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you came with like a black belt in karate or something, it might help. Like the carryover maybe not as much, but if you're an athlete,
Yeah.
if you took like an NFL or like a pro NFL player who's like just a physical specimen and you taught
Yeah.
him like who is that guy who the guy who went from the NFL to the UFC, Greg Hardy. Yeah, Greg Hardy. So like he was like he's an athlete, right?
Yeah.
So when he came, he didn't know, but he did like pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Just because he's a good athlete, right? So
Yeah.
I think if you take a good athlete and put him in any sport, he's going to do well. If you take a good athlete that comes from a sport that's very transferable,
Yeah.
it'll do pretty well, like even better.
Yeah.
But like you say, I think it's very similar to what MMA was in the recipient days, where like you have these other people coming from other disciplines and coming in, whereas it'll be, like you said, the new generation that will just come up with no-gi jiu-jitsu will be a blend of both.
Yeah. Like we'll probably not even see the difference. Like, oh, this guy's a wrestler. It's like, no, you'll be just a jiu-jitsu person.
Yeah, well, like again, that guy from Daisy Fresh who got the scholarship to, like, he basically is like a no-gi grappler. I think he did gi both. Like, it's hard. Like, you don't need to label. It's just like
Yeah.
he was doing this sport, and now he's able to bleed into wrestling.
Yeah.
Probably because a lot of wrestling has bled into the jiu-jitsu. I think those guys are wrestling heavy anyway.
Yeah.
So that it's like it's all like it's very similar stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think it's nice. I think it's really nice because they can get like an opportunity for a young man to get an education
Yeah.
off of just like hugging dudes. Like that's great because if you just do pure jiu-jitsu, or traditional jiu-jitsu, there was no real there's no education component. Like nobody's giving you a jiu-jitsu scholarship.
Yeah.
I think in
What-
like Asia Judo you could get a scholarship. But
What? How? I think the sport could really change. Let's say SFU offered scholarships
Yeah.
for a jiu-jitsu. Like we're gonna make a jiu-jitsu university team,
yeah.
and it's like the top 10. Whatever, we have 10 weight classes similar to wrestling,
Mhm.
but instead of wrestling, we do jiu-jitsu tournaments.
But then you need organized tournaments, right? You need an official governing body, and
Yeah.
you need like a legit like something, right?
Do you think that'll be? Do you think that is possible in the future, or do you think it would be more needed? Do you think that just like the club system of random clubs, like 12 clubs in a city, a better system?
There's like, I don't think it's ready just because like if you look at wrestling, there's like you said, there's Greco-Roman, there's collegiate,
Yeah.
there's freestyle. There's like three,
Yeah.
right? There's no more than three. Even if you look at like the local tournament scene here, there's different rule sets, right? There's I think like Grappling Industries has their own rule set. Anything IBJJF
Yeah.
has a rule set. Some like I think the Revolution one, like they were using IBJJF. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think there's like a Prime one that there's so many rule sets of that. Like I think Naga has their own. It's not that it's too. There's too much right now. I think.
Yeah.
For it to be.
Even you got the quintets and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many. It's all. I think it's like the infancy space stage of this, like the grappling coming. But I mean, wrestling is dialed in because it's three types.
Yeah.
It's organized. It's kind of set.
Yeah. There's only one more I missed with freestyle woman.
That's different.
Well, it's just there's no female.
women?
There's no female Greco.
Oh,
There's no female collegiate.
oh,
So if you're a girl
Yeah.
and wanting to wrestle collegiate style, there is actually no tournament base.
so the women's freestyle is what they do in the Olympics, right?
Yes,
Okay. So
But-
women can only wrestle freestyle?
correct. There is no Greco, and also they don't have like the rule set for females is freestyle.
Yeah.
They don't do the folk style.
So is it, so in the even in the States?
Correct. But it's also the fastest growing sport, fastest female growing sport in the United States right now is
Yeah,
female
that's
wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's up on the rise, but like 2004 was the first time they had female wrestling. It's a relatively new sport. It was actually very unheard of to have girls in the room. So they are opening the doors a little bit more to wrestling. It was a very masculine
Yeah.
sport, still is, even in the States.
There's
Like,
a lot of I mean, female jiu-jitsu has been pretty like there's no different rule set for them. It's the same.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Oh,
it is the
that's
same.
great.
But they had to go through like a lot to get where they are today, and they're probably still trying to, I don't know, punch relevancy, I guess. But I think they're getting better and better. Like it's becoming more common, and I don't know. That's just something that was on my mind. So how are we doing on time?
We got 5 minutes.
Ooh,
before we
should we
end.
do a little wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, this is more like a trial one too, so you can get the feel of it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. October 6th,
October 6th.
I wanted to go over stance.
Okay.
So that's the number one thing that I wanted to talk about.
I think that's great because they're like the limited I know about standing is like I look at for jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
for me like clicking with this whether you go for a stance is like I look at what he's likely like right hand dominant, left hand dominant, and my priority system is like I don't care about me grabbing him. I just want to make sure he doesn't grab me with his power hand.
Yeah,
I look at his legs, like whether he's right foot forward, left foot forward, whether I'm going to be left foot forward, like if I'm
Yeah.
mirrored or matched. But for me, like it's limited. I'm just not letting him get his power hand, deny his power hand, try to get my power hand, and then make something happen.
one of the biggest things that, like, yes, that I agree 100% is kind of the mentality is being loose but being fluid,
Right.
like being able to react,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like a dance.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
like when I'm like in my stance, I'm kind of in a
It's a
low.
flow.
It's a flow.
Yeah.
When I went to Brazil, very stiff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were holding on, like if they were like for their dear life,
Yeah.
and they were gassing themselves out. Like you can vividly hear them. Wrestling's hard.
It is hard. Never do.
Probably 2 minutes in of hand fighting,
Yeah.
and I was loosey goosey as hell,
Yeah.
and I wasn't going hard.
Sure.
And they just gas themselves out, and it's just because they don't have a correct stance. Like they're just not getting the right mentality on that. And I feel like probably that would be a really great step of the first thing I
Well,
want
I
to
think
teach.
it's good step on because I think stand up is important because in all the like any rule set, like I mean, even if you sit the guard right away,
Yeah.
you still have to start standing.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be nice to have a couple more tools?
Yeah. Or if you just want to work on wrestling. Like
Yeah.
I know a few people, like
No one
I
wants to
just
work, it's too hard.
Justin, he said like I know he's a guard guy, but he wants to work on his wrestling.
He's silly.
I know he's silly. Like he should have just always pulled guard.
He should just pull guard.
If they're better at wrestling you, just pull guard.
Yeah.
Like it is, you don't have to be good at wrestling to do jujitsu,
Yeah.
but if you want it to be,
Yeah,
then
it's just
probably
another tool.
just
Okay, so stance, that would be great.
yeah. So one of the other, so they got stance. I don't know how much we got. 3 more minutes.
Sure.
I've been fascinated with the back take.
Okay. Like standing back there?
Yes. So remember you like the slide by right now.
Yeah. Oh, sidelights are sweet. They just look cool.
Oh, they're super cool, but it is a good. It's
Yeah.
if you fail that, you're just still standing.
Yeah.
If you fail a double leg, you're on your knees.
Under some giant group.
So trying to find effective ways to get the back take.
Yeah.
I think is probably like what I'm trying to. First is I'm going to teach the stance.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to teach probably a few ways. Like always ponder on the idea of teaching back tacks
Yeah.
from standing.
Yeah.
If someone chooses to stand up with you, I'm not thinking doing single legs anymore. I'm thinking of getting a snap down. I'm thinking about
Yeah.
getting an arm drag to the back take. I'm thinking about a 2-on-1 to the back take. I'm really trying to like attack the back take.
Yeah, for sure. Percentage, right?
It's a high percentage.
It's the highest percentage.
Really?
I think so.
To just
If you take all the data for every submission, like throughout the last like 2 decades, like obviously there's a lot of leg lock finishings, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's still by a long shot. There's some dude on YouTube who does all these.
Yeah.
But long shot, it's still like.
less impressed, more involved
Yeah,
guy.
that guy. Yeah, I think so. But I think like it's still by far like. It's getting behind the guy and strangling him. Is any rule set, any size, any weight class, like any division, it's get behind him and strangle him.
Are they getting it from standing, or are they getting it from getting side control and then?
That I don't know.
They're probably doing all the above.
Yeah.
But having an extra option of getting the back take.
Yeah. So I mean, if you shortcut, fast.
So that's where the lesson plan is right now.
That sounds good.
It'll be exciting. I think like I want to give it good ideas that like people can take back home of like exercises. Like I could give you guys an SFU practice, but then you guys will be gone. Like never do a wrestling practice again in your life.
100%.
It's too hard.
It's way too hard.
So I love your constraint drills.
Oh, okay. Hey. I stole
But
them
like,
from Rob.
oh really?
I stole them from Rob from the Island Talk team, and Billy showed us the leg one, so it's good.
I would love to add like 2 more
Yeah. For wrestling?
for wrestling.
Okay.
Like, obviously, I think we could pick the best one out of the few.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna make a few,
Yeah.
just because it's a wrestling inspired jiu-jitsu class.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it a wrestling practice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it wrestling for jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
and try to make it like let's have fun
Yeah.
and not kill ourselves with our back and necks kind of deal. Easy there. 39, it's like kicking. Right?
Oh, well, that sounds good, man. Let's put a cork in it for now, and we will October 6th.
October 6th, Sunday, I think.
Yes. 2 hours?
Yeah, let's do 2 hours. That'll be exciting. I think we have like 10 people signed up now.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. You don't want too many, because then you split your attention.
Yeah. Well, I'll hopefully record some of it, or maybe we can add it to a regular edition of our practices if we
Yeah,
like one of
I
them.
think if it, if you can add it to a regular drill, just like how when Billy King we added like the leg stuff.
Yeah.
Shows, like, just makes everybody better, right?
Yeah, like I'm 10 times better at doing leg locks because we've been practicing at AMP now.
I'm maybe like 1 time, maybe 2 times better.
You were pretty good before though. You know more than me.
All right, cool. Thanks, John.